Well, hey, everybody. Getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest. I'm going to talk 15 years of the BOGP this week. So let's do it. All right, here we go. Got to take Mallory to a cheer lesson, so I got to hustle. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 139 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find at beourguestpodcast.com or any of the fine podcatchers around the universe. But you know that because you're a Patreon. You're a patron. You are a supporter. You're a super fan. You're a friend of mine. I appreciate you so much. You know where to find the show because, you're here. So anyway, I don't know why I bother with that, but that's just kind of the podcaster intro thing. But I'm glad you're here. This is episode 139 of Mike in the Midwest, recorded here on March 14th, 2023, which is a special day if you're sitting in the seat where I am. Pull that mic down just a little bit. Maybe it's a little hot there. Today is 314 on your calendar, and it is also known as Pie Day, which hopefully you can get some pie or pizza, either one, both good. But if you live in St. Louis, it is St. Louis Day because 314 is our area code in the greater St. Louis area. Um, Actually, where I live out in St. Charles County at this point, the area code is 636. But if you live in St. Louis County, which is on the other side of the Missouri River, it is 314, which is the metropolitan area. So it is St. Louis Day, STL Day, Pie Day, Pizza Day, STEM Day for a lot of people because of the 3.14 in the mathematical sense. Whatever kind of day it is, it's also Tuesday. So hopefully you're having a great day. I'm just glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're my friend. So today, let's talk about what's going on around here. The sun has finally popped out here in St. Louis. It has been gloomy for about the past 4 or 5 days and very cold. It's been in the 30s. Enough of that nonsense, man. Spring training's about to break here in about 2 weeks. We need to have warm weather here, and it's not been cooperating. We had some warm days a couple of weeks ago, and it has churned cold here for the month of March. So anyway, let's get the spring weather here in St. Louis. Hopefully you're having good weather wherever you are, but it is not nice here. I know there's a nor'easter headed up to the northeastern United States, so hunker down if you're up that way. I don't need any of that nonsense. It's cold, but at least it's sunny. I don't need the snow anymore. Snow days don't teach anymore. Don't need them. I just noticed on the moving message sign over my shoulder 111 days till the podcast cruise. So if you're sailing with us, warm weather will be had in the Bahamas on July 3rd. So just hang tight. We're almost there. Palm trees and tropical drinks on Castaway Key. And of course, chicken sandwiches and cookies too. But yeah, just hope you're doing well and hang in there with that nor'easter if you're out east. Hopefully you're having better weather than I am. But what's been going on around here? Let's talk about that. If you are one of the Be Our Guest podcast lizards, or if you follow me on social media at Be Our Guest Mike on Instagram, especially, you will notice that every morning I try to post a walk or a run to get the day started, just to kind of hold myself accountable so that I can make sure that I get some activity in my day before I sit at a desk and help people plan awesome Disney vacations throughout the day and do podcasts like this. But I had been sick for about 4 days with like a respiratory thing, like a flu or something, and it was just brutal. You might have noticed it on Monday's podcast, the trip report that I did with listener Jenna in Washington, her Disneyland trip report. I had started feeling sick right as I recorded that show. That was last Wednesday night. But I still, you know me, I never want to miss a podcast, right? So I sucked it up, recorded the show, but after that show, man, I just kind of, it was it. I hit the wall. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was just down for the count, man. I was laying on the couch and taking was a Dayquil, cold and flu, severe stuff, and NyQuil at night, and just had my laptop next to me on the couch. So I was working. I catch up with my emails for a couple hours, and then I go to sleep. Then I'd wake up after a couple hours, do my emails again for a couple hours. It was just all on and off. That's all I did. Didn't do any exercise, which killed me. And just kind of struggled. So if you didn't see me on social media, didn't see me posting my runs or walks or anything, I apologize for that, but I was under the weather. I am on the mend, but I still have, the remnants of this cold or flu or whatever it was but I think it's because I was up in Chicago with Mallory for her cheer squad. Of course, she filled in for her all-star team from last year. They had an injured athlete. They needed a back spot. Mallory's a back spot. So she learned the routine over the past month and they competed up in Chicago. We got to go up and watch her cheer for 2.5 days at the Schaumburg Convention Center. So we were kind of in this really nice hotel slash convention center, but we were like in there with all these people for like 2 solid days. So I'm sure that stuff was flying around. It's that time of year. And I'm sure I caught something from somewhere. We also got to see Paige, her basketball team, play up in Chicago as well. So we were all over the place. So I'm sure that's where it happened. So it's like one of those things. You go to marathon weekend, you come home with something. I got the bug and had to pay the price for a few days, but I'm bouncing back. I think I'm just going to walk this week. I think on the treadmill till maybe Friday. Friday, try to give a run again, but I'm not in a huge hurry to. I don't have any big races coming up other than Spring Surprise, and that long race will be a 10-mile race. So not not really a huge thing that I would need to train for a ton. So we're going to hang in there and see how it goes, but I do need to get back to running, but hopefully maybe just a 5 or 6 miler on Friday. We'll see. That's the plan. But then the treadmill started acting up this afternoon when I walked on it, so who knows. Anyway, hope you're doing well, and that's what's been going on around here. Today I got to take Mallory to a tumbling practice because the high school cheer tryouts are coming up here soon in the next few weeks. And she has these skills that she's working on to improve herself, better chance to make the varsity squad this year as a sophomore next year. And so she's taking some private lessons from one of the coaches at the gym she used to attend. So we're doing that here shortly. So I wanted to get this in to you guys. So we have the show out on time on Tuesday. So that you have a show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week. You have something to listen to, probably too much, but I appreciate you guys so much. So I always want to have some content there for you. Well, last week I talked about how it was a very special birthday for the most special person in the world in my life, my wife, Pam. And we had her birthday last Tuesday. She celebrated one of those 0 birthdays. And I just love her so much. And I talked on the show last week about how we met. I mean, we'd met way before that because we taught together for years and years prior to us dating. Um, she was an established teacher at Wedgwood Elementary where I student taught, and then came on is after I student taught that year. I came back the next year as a 6th grade teacher. She was already a 6th grade teacher, so she was on the team that hired me, and so I got to teach next door to Pam for years and years. We became very good friends as we taught next door to each other. And eventually, on her 30th birthday, a bunch of us were going to a party. She was having a retro 70s birthday party because obviously we're both born in 1973. And so we had this 70s party. I got my best leisure suit at a vintage store and, went to it. But I got her a card for her 30th birthday. And I said, what I really want to give you is just a very nice, I want to take you out to the nicest meal in St. Louis. I talked about this last week. And so, yes, on her 30th birthday was when I asked her on our first date. And so it was 20 years later, so you can do the math, that my life really changed. And I'll be honest, I can't believe she said yes to a date with me because she is so out of my league and she still is. But it was amazing. My life changed for the better that day. And, it's just one of those things where you just got to be thankful for the path that God puts in front of you, right? That I didn't know how this was going to go. I mean, the thing about student teaching is where I was going to the University of Missouri St. Louis when I was becoming a teacher at that point, and you did 2 different placements for your student teaching to give you 2 different opportunities to meet different staff, and you would do different grade levels and stuff like that. My first placement was at Wedgwood Elementary where Pam taught, and I taught 2nd grade there for 7 weeks. And then I went to the district where I really wanted to teach, which was Hazelwood School District, which is where I graduated from high school, and so did Pam. And I didn't like it when I student taught there. So I ended up going back to Wedgwood where I didn't think I would like it and got to teach with Pam. So, I mean, if I wouldn't have been placed at Wedgwood Elementary on a random whim, during student teaching, I would have never met Pam. And it's weird how those things happen because I have a family. I have the best life in the world. I mean, I have somebody who supported me when I said, you know what, I think I'm going to leave teaching, which is a very established job. I had a master's degree in education. I had probably the best teaching job at that point in the district, teaching gifted education, which was, I mean, it was a really nice gig. But I told her, I really think I can do this. I think I can do this podcasting thing full time and book travel. It's kind of a passion of mine. And some people would say, you know what, that's not a good idea. Like it's a steady check being a teacher. I could see where most people would not really support that. But Pam said, you know what, I think you can do that. You're creative. I like how you like to come up with ideas and take chances and bet on yourself. And we had that conversation and she 100% supported me, which I thank her for that. So yeah, 20 years ago, I was very, very lucky. So we had her birthday. We had the family over this past weekend, Sunday or Saturday. I hung in there. I was sick, but I took a lot of day cool. Her family all came over, her mom, her dad, her sisters, and we had cake. We got the cake from where we had our wedding cake, a place called Wedding Wonderland. It was so good. There's only a few pieces left. I've almost eaten it all with some vanilla ice cream each night. But yeah, we had a great celebration. But it's funny how your life changes and you don't even know it at the time. But yeah, 20 years ago, pretty special. Feedback from last week's show. Tricia says, up in Wisconsin, my husband and I were set up on a blind date by my college roommate and her boyfriend. The night didn't start out great as the guys were buddies and almost exclusively talking to one another. I later found out my husband was super nervous to talk to me. My roommate stepped in and reminded her boyfriend not to monopolize the conversation. After dinner, we hung out at our apartment watching the opening ceremonies of the 2006 Olympics, which makes it very easy to remember when we met. That's super sweet. That is super sweet. I love that. And I love that you have that, the Olympic opening ceremony to remember that day, that moment, and that point in time. And maybe every 4 years you have a special moment there because you're like an Olympic cycle kind of thing. I like that. I love hearing how people meet because it was kind of drama in our school a little bit. The one thing Pam and I wanted, because we taught in an elementary school and the elementary school was the best elementary school in our district. We had the highest test scores and everybody wanted to go to the school. And the community around this elementary school was very invested. We had a strong PTA. The parents were always in the classrooms. And, there was always rumor like, oh, Ms. Bullington and Mr. Rahman like each other. And we did because we were best friends. I mean, we were really good friends for years and years. But then, we were dating. We didn't obviously, we never told our students. We didn't tell anybody at school. We did eventually tell the principal because, she was actually a really good friend. And it was one of those things that we never wanted drama with our careers. Pam was a very focused and still is professional teacher because she taught at the university level. She was an adjunct professor. She's an amazing teacher. I had a good reputation as a teacher. We wanted to keep that up. We always did. We never crossed that. But later on down the line, when we did, get married and we're dating, it was kind of fun because, we had Mr. Rahman and Mrs. Rahman next door to each other for a year. And the kids were like, we knew it. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, we love each other. We got married. That's what happens because we were good friends first. And that's how it works. Jody, my good friend out in Cincinnati, says, I loved hearing about the start of your relationship with Pam and how it has grown over the years. I think you are both lucky to have found each other. I think so. I think so. It's one of those things that, as I look back, I don't know what I would do without Pam, to be honest. I mean, she does just about everything for me. So, she allows me to podcast. She allows me to do my job. I mean, it's amazing. So I think you all have somebody in your life if you're lucky like that. And we just need to thank our lucky stars. And speaking of that, I want to talk about for today's main topic. I just want to jump in here with this and talk about one thing that I'm super grateful for. And it is directly because of your support and your support here on Patreon, but also your support over the past decade and a half. And it's that I've been able to do the Be Our Guest podcast for 15 years. It'll be 15 years this Saturday, March 18th, the day after St. Patrick's Day. We had our first podcast on Tuesday, March 18th, 2008. And we'll talk about this on Friday's podcast. We've already recorded it. But I wanted to give some of my personal memories here on the Patreon with kind of a smaller group and just be more candid with you guys. Friday's show, what we do is Ricky and Scott and I, we talk about, a few memories from the podcast over the past 15 years. Scott talks about being a listener because obviously he hasn't been around with us as long, but Ricky's been there the whole time. and we talk about some things there. But what we did was, instead of talking about our show, we talk about shows during our run of 15 years that have come and gone that we really like. WW Today, Mouse Tunes, Netcot, Inside the Magic. What else do we talk about? There were a few more. We talked about just these other podcasts, Wedway Radio, that we just that it helped us kind of find our voice as a podcast, and we appreciate them, and we wish they were still around. Beta Mouse. We talk about all those shows that were so much fun. And I wish these shows were still around, because I'm not only a podcaster, but I'm a podcast fan. I love consuming podcasts. I love hearing other folks put their point of view out there and give me some information on a topic that I might not know much about, or just get a different perspective on a topic that I might know a lot about, or just be able to kind of hang out in the room with two, three, four friends that are sharing a microphone or sharing a Skype conversation or a Zoom call. I think podcasting is amazing because it gives more people a voice, as radio did maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. You had to have all this equipment. You had to have a radio license. You had to have a radio tower to be able to get your voice out there to a lot of people. With podcasting over the past, couple of decades, you can sit like I am right now in a studio in my basement and speak to anybody on the planet that is interested in what you have to say. And what I found over the past 20 years of being a podcast listener is that I enjoy very niche podcasts that might not have big audiences, but are just really weird and unique. This one, I've talked about this on here before. I listened to a guy in Oklahoma. His name's Rob Flack O'Hara, and he talks about his Commodore 64 collection and growing up calling BBSs, which is what I did as a kid very much. He talks about retro toys and stuff that he collects. He goes out thrifting, he travels, but I've never been to Oklahoma City. But he talks about what it was like to go to his mall, Crossroads Mall. I've never been there, but I mean, I can relate to his stories because I had a Jamestown Mall in my town that sounds very similar, which is gone now. But we have those same shared memories that were kind of parallel. But I've never met Rob. But his stories have so much of my childhood in them. Like, we could have been best friends. We could have been like brothers from another mother, but we've never met. We don't talk a lot I talk to him occasionally on social media, but it's one of those things that podcasting has given me so much. And I'm so lucky that you've supported us, because I'll be honest, during COVID, when that happened 3 years ago, I didn't know if the Be Our Guest podcast would survive. I didn't know if I'd be able to stay as a travel agent, because think about it. All the parks were closed. All the Disney ships were parked, and there was no travel happening in the world. So I was very, very close to going back into education, because that's a safe bet. I have the master's degree. I could get a job teaching really in any district in St. Louis that I would like, because they're always needing teachers. But I stuck with it, and it's because you guys supported us here on Patreon that we're able to keep the show going, and I was able to stay where I am doing what I love. And I just I when I say my prayers at night, I thank you, each and every one of you. I thank God that I have friends like you that support me to be able to do this. And it really means more than even words can express today. But as we put the podcast together 15 years ago, some of the stories, I don't have a lot of stories that I haven't told over the years, but I just remember that we put the show together in March, but the idea of a show actually came together the summer prior. So that would have been in the summer of 2005, I guess, or no, the summer of 2007. And I was telling Pam that I really wanted to do something, because I've always kind of been behind a microphone. When I was working, from the time I started working in 8th grade, I DJ'd at a skating rink. I played the music, I made all the announcements, and then eventually I ran the skating rink. And then my dad, I've talked about this, he owned a mobile DJ company. So every Saturday night, I would go out and DJ a wedding reception or a prom, or, some crazy dance, at a VFW hall. There's a lot of those in Missouri. But I would always be like the MC of some kind of an event on Saturday night. So I was very comfortable behind a microphone from the time I was like 14. So I enjoyed that, but it was always surrounding music, playing music, being a DJ, which I don't mind. It was fine, right? Especially when you're in high school. I mean, shoot, w- what high school kid wouldn't want a job where you make a lot of money playing music? I mean, that's pretty good. I would make as much on a Saturday night as my friends made in a week, like working at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or Taco Bell, because my dad owned the company, so he paid me well. Because I mean, you got paid well to do a wedding reception. I mean, it was a skilled position. Not everybody could do it. And so my passion though was always talk radio. I always listened to talk radio. I never listened to music. I was a nerd. I get it. Most of my friends were listening to, like, 103.3 KHTR, 106.5 KWK, the hits pop radio, and I'd listen to it enough. But I would also listen to KMOX, the talk news talk radio station, and call in shows. And I always wanted to do talk radio. So eventually, like, I remember talking with Pam that summer. I said, I'd love to do this podcasting thing. So I was listening to WW Today, a few other podcasts, and I said, it's almost like AM talk radio, but you get to pick your topic and you get to record and really put that out there. I don't know if anybody would listen to a Disney podcast. I mean, there's already like 5 of them. You don't need more than 5, probably. Haha, that's funny now because there's hundreds. But I wanted to give it a try. And the thing was, I had the opportunity because my dad had all the equipment. We had the microphones, we had the recording software, we had the computers, and I had the technical know-how because I could just get my dad to come over and hook everything up. And I've been lucky with that because he's a radio engineer. So he did that and we gave it a shot. And I'll tell you what, the first headset that I used to record the podcast was an old banged up Rams radio headset that Orlando Pace used. For like a call-in show that they did throughout the week, because Orlando Pace is a big offensive lineman, number 76. He's in the Hall of Fame. Just a huge man, huge. And this thing was so beat up and banged up. But my dad, he gave it to me because it was just like an old leftover one that was no longer being used. So I used that to record the podcast for years and years. After that, I ended up saving up some money and I bought this Sennheiser headset. And what it is, and I recorded probably 5, 6, 700 episodes of the show with this microphone. It's that exact same headset that you'll see the broadcasters use when they're calling like Monday Night Football or any kind of sporting event. It's the headset that has the boom mic in front of your mouth. It's a high end microphone set. It was like $400 or $500, and I remember saving up for that. And it worked wonderful because it gave me the really high quality headphones, but it gave me a very quiet and solid sounding microphone. I mean, obviously, if they're using it to call Monday Night Football or any kind of sporting event, the Cardinals broadcasters use these exact same headsets. It's what the Rams broadcasters use still today. It's good enough quality for a podcast if you can use it for the Super Bowl. And so I used that for years. But eventually what I did was my dad quit broadcasting from his condo. He was doing a bunch of radio stations. He did voice tracking. He quit doing that. So I took over his radio microphone setup stuff. So that's what I'm using at this point, that I've been using for about the last 5 years. But it's funny how things have progressed and how you use what you have, because the show wasn't any better or worse with that beat up, banged up Orlando Pace microphone back in 2009. That's kind of just where we were as a podcasting community, but I've always wanted the show to get better, and I continually want the show to get better. I just added a new mixer here in the studio, so that hopefully the sound quality gets better with this quieter board, and it gives us more opportunity to do some more things on the road. Like, we're looking at doing a live show this fall down at Give Kids the World, another fundraiser. You heard it here first. So we might be down there in September, October, to do a live show where you can come in, join us live as we raise money for the village. Maybe stuff with remote locations. I mean, we're trying to make the show the best it can be still after 15 years. But we've had so many great opportunities. We've done the 12-hour live call-in shows, which we're going to do again, hopefully, like I said, soon, and on location, which would be even better. We've broadcasted live shows from the Disney Cruise Line ships. We've recorded shows on the ships on our podcast cruises, which we're going to record another one again this July when we sail in 111 days. So we're looking forward to that. We've just had the opportunity to do all these meetups in the parks, and just getting to meet listeners at races. We put the running team, the Lizards, came together because of the show, and people have said, well, I never would have ran a half marathon if it wasn't for the podcast. I'm in that same boat. I would have never run a full marathon for sure if it wasn't for the podcast and folks like Mike Bankhead and his inspirational story that he shared on a Monday show that moved my heart. And said, if Mike could do it, and he could do it with his wife, and he could do it with his sister. You know, the story of his entire family getting out there and overcoming obstacles through running. Mike Rallman, you can do it too. And it was hard, but it's something that I'm a marathoner now, and I'll never forget for the rest of my life. I'm proud of that. And it's because of friends that I've met through the podcast. But having this podcast for 15 years has been wonderful. I don't know if you guys know, like way back when we did a show in the archives where, and we couldn't do this anymore because we'd be taken down because of music rights. But we did like a name that tune of Disney music from like background loops from around the parks. We did that probably in our first couple of years. That was one of our episodes that we had. We used to do our Trapped In series, if you remember that, where we'd be trapped in Morocco in Epcot, and you just talk about everything in that, you know, that one pavilion in Epcot, or Trapped in Frontierland. That was one of my favorite. I love that series because you really forced you to look at the stores, the restaurants, the attractions, the theming. What would you do if you could not leave that part of the park for that day? That was kind of fun. Maybe we'll bring that back around again. We've also got to do media events over the years. We were there for the opening of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in the new Fantasyland. We were there for the opening of Toy Story Land back when that happened. That was kind of neat. You know, we've gotten to do some very special stuff because of having the podcast, and hopefully we've brought you excitement with, you know, bringing that to you as best we could. I will say that I get to go to Disneyland here in about 2 weeks at the very end of of March, and they're going to show us all that Disneyland's going to have for the Disney 100 promotion. So we're going to get to see the new World of Color show. We're going to get to see the new parade at Disneyland, the night parade. We're going to see the food and wine festival at California Adventure, and I'm going to bring that all to you live on Instagram. And then obviously that Monday, because I'm going to come back, I'm going on a Wednesday, coming back on a Saturday morning, so it's real quick. And then that Monday we'll be in the studio talking all about it. So those folks, I've helped a lot of folks plan Disneyland vacations, and that way you'll know what to expect here in the year moving forward and how to get the most out of those trips. And you know, I think it's great that we have the opportunity to be recognized at this point by Disney to to get to do things like this. That's very special. And also that we're affiliated with the Magic for Less, because Pam and Stacy and Linda, the three owners of the Magic for Less, allow us to really have some legitimacy with their awesome travel agency and kind of work hand in hand together. We promote the agency, but they support us very much as well. It's a great partnership that I've always been super appreciative of them. So here's the thing. I wanted to ask you this. This is why I did this show. The biggest reason I wanted to do this show is to say thank you, because, and I mentioned this on Friday's podcast that comes up. When I do these podcasts, this is my favorite time of the week. When you're my age, you know, in your late 40s, you don't have like your, you know, you don't get to go outside and play like you did when you were, you know, 8. You know, those were the best times in life. You know, for me, it was like you get to go out and play catch with your buddy, my buddy Ryan across the street. We play catch, or we go bike riding. We go around the neighborhood, see my grandma, or we'd ride up to the elementary school and ride on the play, you know, play on the playground. Those were the best days. When you get older, you don't have those opportunities to go outside and play, is, you know, in air quotes anymore. But I'll tell you what, my playtime every week is my opportunity to podcast. I love doing this show. There's a reason I haven't missed a podcast, because I love this. It's never a burden. It's always a joy. And when I get feedback from you guys on Twitter or on Facebook or an email, it truly is just like when the show started in 2008. There's really no big, nothing has gotten old to me about this. And Riley's gonna announce that Mallory's now home from school. I apologize for that. But that's one thing we didn't have 15 years ago. It was a dog, but we, you know, we have a daughter that's working in Chicago. So now we have her dog. So let me just say that I'm super thankful for each and every one of you for allowing me to do this. And I hope you've always enjoyed it. I hope the biggest goal of this is that I've realized over the years is that I hope that we've shared some laughs. I hope that we've made each other laugh at some point, because I know your comments on social media, meeting you guys in person, reading your stuff, you guys have made me chuckle and laugh many times. But I hope when you listen to the show, sometimes you chuckle right along with us when we say stupid stuff. Or, you know, I just hope that maybe you smile when you hear a memory from a guest on a Monday show. like, did something like that happen for me? And I remember that when my little daughter did that, back 20 years ago, it made me so happy. I hope we share great memories. I hope we share some laughs, but I hope we also share some tips that maybe have made your trip better over the years. Really, I hope that we all work together to improve each other's vacations, because every Monday I learn something from a guest and it makes my trips better. And I hope that we kind of do that as a community. So as I wrap this up, I don't want to go too long. I just want to say thank you for 15 years, sincerely. And I hope that we have kind of grown up together. If you've been with us for all that time, that we've shared some good times and some bad. I know that there's been some rough times in the last 15 years. COVID was rough, but we made it through together. We made the best of it. We made some amazing memories through COVID, which I never thought we'd have the opportunity to do. But I'm just glad that we're together. And most importantly, I'm glad that we're friends. I'm glad that we have a community, because I care about each and every one of you. I truly do. I know that our community is big and I don't get to talk to everybody as much as I should. I feel terrible about that, but I'm so thankful that we have this opportunity to share this love of Disney, and that you're here with me on the podcast, and that we can really support each other. So as Riley is charming in with us, and Mallory's making her bark upstairs, I'm going to close out so I can take her to tumbling. But I hope you have a great week. Thank you for 15 years, and thank you for your support. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.